Your silence is rewriting their respect for you without saying a word. The moment you stopped begging, something ancient shifted. The noise died, the stage went dark, and in that darkness, truth started breathing. They are watching now, not your words but your absence, and it terrifies them deeply now. Because once you gave everything, your time, your energy, your loyalty, and they treated it like disposable air. They took your kindness and carved it into leverage. They smiled while subtracting your worth. They listened to use voice against you, turning your truth into a weapon aimed at your heart. They disappeared when you needed presence. They spoke loudly when you needed protection. They questioned your reality until you questioned your sanity. They trained you to apologize for wounds they created. They called it love while it felt like war. And every day you lost ground inside your own mind, and you carried the aftermath like broken glass under your skin. Every memory cut, every silence screamed. You replayed scenes, searching for where you went wrong, rewriting yourself into smaller shapes to fit their expectations, shrinking your spirit until it made a sound in rooms that once echoed your power. You felt the weight of shame settle on your chest like iron. You felt guilt for not being enough, for speaking much, for staying long, for leaving late. Confusion wrapped around your thoughts, tightening with every unanswered question, until your mind became a maze with no exit and no light. But is the truth they never wanted you to see. Your silence is not weakness. It is a mirror. It reflects their behavior back to them without distortion. It removes your energy from their control. It exposes the imbalance they depended on, and suddenly they cannot feed on you anymore. You are not broken. You are not weak. They did not destroy you. They awakened you. This pain is not punishment. It is preparation. The story you believed is collapsing, and a truth is rising from the ashes, demanding you stop performing for people who never deserved your presence. Silence becomes your boundary, your shield, your discipline. You stop explaining your value to those committed to misunderstanding you. You stop chasing closure from people who profit from your confusion. You withdraw your attention, and in that withdrawal, you reclaim power that was leaking through every attempt to be understood. They feel it, the shift, the absence of access, the loss of control. Your silence creates a vacuum where their manipulation once lived, and they start to unravel. They question themselves for the first time. They notice your distance, and it unsettles the narrative they built where you always returned. This is the psychological reveal. Manipulators depend on reaction, explanation, your need to be seen. When you go silent, you remove the oxygen from their fire. They cannot read you. They cannot predict you. They cannot provoke you. And without that leverage, their power collapses into something small and exposed. Pressure is building, but not against you. It is building within you, like carbon under earth becoming diamond, like steel hammered into shape. Your pain is refining you. Every moment you chose silence over chaos, you hardened your edge and clarified your mind, turning scattered emotion into focused, controlled force. You begin to see patterns you ignored. The cycles, the tests, the way they pushed until you reacted, blamed your reaction. You recognize the script, and once you see it, you cannot unsee it. Awareness cuts the strings they used to pull, and suddenly you are no longer their puppet. New rules emerge from the fire. You do not chase. You do not explain. You do not beg for clarity from confusion. You protect your peace like a guarded fortress. You answer with presence or absence, never desperation, and your standards rise so high that disrespect cannot reach your doorstep. This is identity rebirth. The version of you that tolerated less than truth is gone. In place stands someone sharper, quieter, deliberate. You move with intention. You choose with precision. You invest your energy where it multiplies, not where it drains, and your life to align with your deeper standards. The comeback is in motion. They hear you before they see you. They will feel your growth before they understand it. Opportunities will find you because you are no longer leaking energy into empty spaces, and your focus will compound into results that speak louder than explanation you ever offered. You stop announcing moves. You let outcomes speak. You let silence write the narrative they cannot control. Respect grows in the space where your reactions used to live, and it grows stronger because it is no longer negotiated. It is observed, measured, and felt without a single word from you. Your silence becomes a language of power. It says enough without saying anything. It communicates boundaries without debate. It declares self-respect without explanation. And those who once dismissed you are forced to recalibrate, because the version of you they understood no longer exists in any form they can access. Remember this moment, the day you chose silence over chaos, the day you stopped bleeding for people who would not bandage you, the day you turned inward and found steel where there used to be softness. And in that discovery, you realized your strength was never given, it was uncovered. Stand in it. Own it. Guard it. Your silence is rewriting their respect for you without saying a word, and the more you protect it, the more it transforms you into someone they cannot ignore, cannot manipulate, and cannot forget, because you have become the standard they failed to meet. The silence you chose was not an escape, it was a declaration. It was the moment you stepped out of a battlefield where you were fighting unarmed against people who studied your weaknesses like a map. And now, without your voice filling the space, the truth echoes louder than anything you could have said. They remember who you were when you stayed available, always explaining, always fixing, always bending until your spine forgot what it meant to stand straight. They remember the version of you that tolerated confusion just to maintain connection, the one who carried conversations, who patched wounds they never intended to heal. And now that version is gone. That is what disturbs them. Because your silence forces confrontation, not with you, but with themselves. There is no distraction anymore, no emotional reaction to hide behind, no explanations to twist into their advantage, just stillness, just absence, just the cold reflection of what they did, replaying without interruption. And you felt it too in the beginning. That withdrawal felt like suffocation. Like losing oxygen. You reached for your phone, for closure, for something to ease the tension of not knowing. Your mind ran wild, creating scenarios, rewriting endings, begging for a version of reality where things made sense again. But nothing came, only silence. And in that silence, your mind began to detox from chaos. The overthinking started to slow, the emotional spikes started to flatten. You began to see clearly, not through the fog of attachment, but through the sharp lens of truth. And what you saw was not love, it was dependency mixed with control. It was attention mistaken for care. It was presence used as a tool, not given as a gift. This is where the transformation deepens. Because now you are not just reacting differently, you are seeing differently. You are not broken. You are not weak. They did not destroy you. They awakened you. This pain is not punishment. It is preparation. Preparation to see patterns without denial. Preparation to walk away without explanation. Preparation to choose yourself without guilt. There is a shift happening inside you that cannot be reversed. A rewiring, a recalibration. The things that once triggered you now reveal themselves. The words that once confused you now expose themselves. You are no longer emotionally blind, you are strategically aware, and awareness is dangerous to those who relied on your confusion. They will try to re-enter, not always loudly, sometimes subtly, a message, a memory, a reminder of who you used to be to them. They will test the silence, hoping it cracks, hoping you return to the version they could control, but you will feel it now. The difference, the distance, the discipline. Because silence is no longer something you are forcing. It is something you have become. And becoming this version of yourself required fire. It required nights where your thoughts attacked you like wolves. It required sitting with discomfort instead of escaping it. It required letting illusions die painful deaths inside your chest. You had to watch your expectations burn, your attachments collapse, your identity fracture. But from that destruction, something unbreakable started forming. Like iron in a furnace, you were heated, reshaped, and hardened. Not colder, clearer, not distant, disciplined, not emotionless, controlled. Pain stopped being something you avoided and became something you understood. You stopped asking, "Why did this happen to me?" and started asking, "What is this trying to teach me?" And the answer became undeniable. It was teaching you standards. It was teaching you boundaries. It was teaching you that access to you is earned, not assumed. New rules carved themselves into your behavior. You do not respond to everything. You do not explain yourself to those committed to misunderstanding. You do not chase closure where there was never honesty. You observe more than you speak. You listen more than you react. You choose peace over proving a point. And in doing this, you become unpredictable to those who once had you figured out. That unpredictability is power. Because now, your presence is intentional. Your absence is intentional. Everything you do carries weight, because it is no longer driven by emotion alone, but by awareness and discipline combined. This is where identity solidifies. You are no longer the person who needed validation to feel worthy. You are no longer the person who overextended to feel accepted. You are no longer the person who ignored red flags to preserve connection. You are someone who sees, someone who chooses, someone who walks away, and that changes everything. Because when you change your internal standards, your external reality has no choice but to follow. The people who once underestimated you begin to feel the shift. They sense the distance, but they cannot measure it. They notice your silence, but they cannot interpret it. And that uncertainty creates respect, because what cannot be controlled must be respected. Your comeback is not loud, it is precise. It is calculated, it is inevitable. You are building something they cannot see yet. A life that does not revolve around their approval, a mindset that does not depend on their understanding, a presence that does not beg to be acknowledged. And when it finally shows, it will not need explanation, because results speak a language that silence has been preparing this entire time. You will walk into rooms differently, not seeking attention, but commanding it naturally, not proving your worth, but embodying it effortlessly, not reacting to energy, but controlling your own. And they will notice. They always do. But by then, it will not matter, because your silence was never about them. It was about you remembering who you were before you gave your power away. It was about reclaiming ground inside your own mind. It was about becoming someone who no longer negotiates their value, and that is something no one can take from you again. There comes a moment when silence stops feeling like restraint and starts feeling like power. Not loud power, not aggressive power, the kind of power that does not need witnesses, the kind that reshapes reality without asking permission. That is where you are now, standing in the aftermath of everything that tried to break you, realizing it failed. Because you are still here, not the same, but stronger, not untouched, but refined, not innocent, but aware. And that awareness has changed the way you move through the world. You no longer rush to fill empty space. You do not panic when there is distance. You do not scramble to explain yourself to people who never intended to understand. You have learned the discipline of stillness, and that discipline is rewriting everything around you. They can feel it, even without contact, even without words. Energy does not need language to be understood, and your energy has shifted from accessible to guarded, from reactive to controlled, from open to intentional. You are no longer easy to read, and that unsettles those who once navigated you with ease, because they remember. They remember how you used to respond instantly, how you used to care loudly, how you used to offer pieces of yourself without hesitation. And now, they are faced with a version of you that does not rush, does not chase, does not fold under pressure. That contrast creates respect, not the shallow kind built on appearances, but the deep kind born from uncertainty, the kind that makes people think twice before approaching, before speaking, before assuming, because they do not know where they stand with you anymore, and that lack of certainty forces them to treat you differently. You did not demand respect. You became someone it could not avoid. You are not broken. You are not weak. They did not destroy you. They awakened you. This pain is not punishment. It is preparation. Preparation for this exact moment. The moment where your silence becomes your reputation. The moment where your absence carries more weight than your presence ever did when you were giving it freely. The moment where people begin to understand that access to you is not guaranteed, and once lost, it is not easily regained. That realization changes how they see you, but more importantly, it changes how you see yourself, because now you understand something most people never do. You understand that power is not in controlling others, it is in controlling yourself. It is in knowing when to speak and when to remain silent. It is in recognizing when something deserves your energy and when it deserves your distance. It is in choosing peace over validation, discipline over emotion, clarity over attachment. That is mastery, and mastery is quiet. There is no need to announce your growth, no need to prove your transformation. The results speak through your actions, your boundaries, your presence. You walk differently because you think differently. And you think differently because you suffered enough to see the truth. Suffering sharpened you. It stripped away illusions. It forced you to confront parts of yourself you avoided. It made you uncomfortable enough to change, and that change is permanent. You will never again be the person who ignored disrespect just to keep someone close. You will never again overextend yourself for people who only valued you when it was convenient. You will never again abandon your own standards to fit into someone else's expectations. That version of you is gone, burned in the fire that tried to consume you, replaced by someone who understands their worth without needing confirmation, someone who can walk away without looking back, someone who can sit in silence without feeling empty. That is rare, that is powerful, that is you. And now, the future begins to open in ways it never could before. Opportunities start aligning, not because the world suddenly became fair, but because you became focused. You stopped leaking energy into places that did not return it. You redirected your attention toward growth, toward purpose, toward building something that reflects your new standards. Momentum builds quietly at first. Small wins, small shifts, small decisions that compound over time, and then, suddenly, everything accelerates. The life you once imagined from a place of desperation begins to form from a place of control. You are no longer chasing outcomes, you are creating them. You are no longer reacting to circumstances, you are shaping them. That is the comeback. Not a dramatic return, a calculated rise. One that does not rely on anyone's approval, one that cannot be undone by someone's opinion, one that stands on the foundation of discipline, awareness, and self-respect. And when people see it, when they finally recognize the transformation, it will not come with explanations. It will not come with reminders of who you used to be. It will simply exist, undeniable and complete. They will wonder what changed. They will try to trace the shift. They will look for the moment everything turned. But they will not find it, because it happened in silence, in the moments no one saw, in the decisions no one heard, in the discipline no one applauded. That is where you rebuilt yourself. That is where you became dangerous in the most controlled way, not dangerous to others, but to anything that tries to lower your standards again. You have become someone who cannot be easily shaken, someone who cannot be easily manipulated, someone who cannot be easily replaced. And that is what makes your silence so powerful. It is not empty. It is full of everything you learned, everything you endured, everything you became. It carries weight, it carries presence, it carries truth. So when you walk forward now, you do not carry the past as a burden. You carry it as proof. Proof that you can survive what tried to end you, Proof that you can evolve beyond what tried to define you. Proof that you can stand alone and still be whole. And that is something no one can take from you. Not anymore, not ever, because you have seen what happens when you give your power away, and you have felt what it takes to reclaim it. You have walked through fire and came out forged, not finished. And now, you move differently, you think differently, you live differently. Silent, focused, unbreakable. Let them wonder, let them watch. Let your silence speak. Follow for more.